What's up, everyone? It's me, Adam Prime, enunciating more like usual. We are back for another TokuBrew podcast. This week in Toku, we are definitely not snowed in right now. What are you talking about?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we lost our recording because a transformer
Exploded.
outside, so we were like, oh jeez, and what exploded?
Yeah. With me as always, as you can hear, is my always lovely co-host and my fiance.
Hi, I'm Stormy.
And yeah, we're kind of just back. You know, we're doing this week's episode. DonBrothers is ending real soon, and I am not okay.
No, what are we gonna do? This is gonna be one of
We're
those
gonna have
shows
to talk
that
about
when it
King
ends,
Oger.
this is one of those shows that like when it ends, we're just gonna be like, what do we watch now?
We have
What do we
Geats.
do?
At least we have Geats.
That's fair. Geats is really good
We're getting
too,
We're getting
always.
King Oger. So, but yeah,
We didn't
like
really have any news.
yeah. Well, then it's we'll get to news when I feel like we get a lot more. I feel like we actually are going to be in a decent time frame to talk about news. Because it's like, yeah, we could talk about King Oger stuff, but meanwhile, by the time this comes out, King Oger could have started. I don't know.
Wow, we're that far behind?
Maybe. But let's start with DonBrothers like we usually do. Which I guess next week we will put this last. Because it's the last episode.
I guess so.
So yeah, we pretty much open up with like Sonoshi and his gang and just being like, oh, we just didn't take it too seriously last time.
Oh yeah, look, and you can tell that they're very out of sync with each other because they don't really like each other.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, there was an opening. Why didn't you hit there? Why didn't you dodge this?
Yeah, just literally watching their thing on a screen. But then we cut to the 9 DonBrothers. Yes, the 9 DonBrothers. Which they were arguing about what order certain people were going to be in. Like, Sarahara was like, no, I'm 2. And I think he was arguing with Jiro or Sonoy.
I thought it was weird that Jiro was 3 and not
Haruka.
Because it feels like those are like a solid 3 and Jiro shows up. A solid 4?
Well, you think they would have made him 6th. Because he's the 6th person, you know what I mean? He was the 5th.
Or at least 5. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot about Tsubasa. Yeah, you would think that it would be like
the main 5.
It would be Taro, Sarahara, Haruka, Kajino, and then
Tsubasa.
Maybe Tsubasa and then Jiro, or Jiro and then Tsubasa, because Tsubasa actually wasn't a part of like the group until like recently.
Yeah.
And then the Naoto.
They're all wearing matching outfits, by the way.
And
they're all matching tracksuits.
Yeah, and something that you actually pointed out that I didn't notice was the fact that she was trying to stand next.
Yeah, like all of a sudden, like
trying to stand next to Tsubasa, but
yeah, like all of a sudden after Sonoy was like 7, and all of a sudden she just started walking forward, and he just like grabbed her like a toddler and just put her back into place, and she was like 8, and obviously Sonoza was 9, but yeah. And that was a pretty fun thing, and like pretty much everyone just started leaving for their own reasons. Like Haruka and Sonoza had to work on a manga thing, so they kind of left.
Our brother just kind of just like, I'm gonna go to haiku. It's beautiful.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're left with just Taro.
Why did Kajino and
he's moving? Because Kajino was moving. He's like,
oh yeah. We saw his ring finger being wearing chalk. It looks like he put like a chalk.
It's supposed to be like, that's. The sun hadn't been shining there, so it's like a tan line, basically.
They made it too thin, though.
It looks like they like didn't have the correct makeup, and it was like pearlescent.
Yeah, it didn't look right.
But I get what they were at least going.
I don't remember what. Oh, I think Tsubasa just left because he's on the run.
Yeah, and then obviously Senoni is just like, I'm gonna follow him.
Exactly.
So yeah, we're just left with the 3 boys.
Yeah, the three big boys, and then that's when Sonoshi's gang shows up. And they just literally just start whooping their asses to the point where they got overconfident and were like, you know what?
We'll blindfold
ourselves
too.
Yeah.
And again, something that you pointed out.
Yeah, like I noticed that Sonoy pulled out Taro's like little rag that he patched him up with in that one episode, and Taro did the same and had Sonoy's. Was it part of his jacket, or did he just have like a handkerchief or something?
It's one of those things. And then Jiro just has like
one of his robes. So yeah, no significance to Jiro's.
I will say it is kind of funny that like we don't have a very good shot of it though, and I'm realizing, oh, like the colors kind of like oh, one's wearing blue, one's wearing red, kind of.
Yeah, and then those one's white. But yeah, no, and they literally just beat the shit out of
Yeah, they're like perfectly in sync, and
yeah, they just slashed
on
them
the same
down.
level.
Yeah, they slashed them down, and they just retreat. And then we pretty much go into like Jiro. Like, there's other stuff that happens, but we're just gonna go into like Jiro and them going to the bench and kind of just talking.
By the way, if you know, you know. I got very scared when we saw a park bench. You know, near the end of the show, I got very scared for a
You
second.
fear this. You fear the bench.
You fear the bench.
But like Jiro is pretty much just like.
It's like that hill. It's like that one hill.
Yeah, Taro was like, "Hey, so that those vegetables that you said Rumi made."
The like stew thing.
Yeah, he's like, "I realized that tasted like terasaki,
Like they were the
your
same.
dad."
And we had theorized. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, go.
We had actually theorized that, oh, what if it was like his dad, or quote unquote dad, had like made it and brought it to him and just used the illusion. That would make him feel more comforted rather than him.
This is so much worse.
And it is actually a lot sadder of he was just in such a
You made it yourself.
stupor, he made it himself and didn't even realize.
And didn't remember him cooking it. He just thinks the delusion brought it to him.
Which is really sad, because I don't even know if that... Because if you think about it, the illusions are basically just in that town.
So he was just so sick and so out of it. That's what he was thinking.
So, like, it's, like, almost double funny that, like, when he was, like, saying goodbye to her, that, like, you know, the bus was empty, you know, kind of thing. Like, oh, well, I think there's other people, but, like, her spot was technically empty, and people were probably wondering what the hell he was doing. Even more so since the illusion technically, I think, wasn't there. He was just so sick.
Yeah, and that was him getting cured. And then Jiro's just like, I was a fool.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I was a fool. And then, like...
Oh, and one thing we forgot to mention was, like, when the three of them were talking before they got attacked was, like, Sonoy... Like, when he, like, Jiro properly introduced himself, basically, for the first time.
Oh, yes. He's
And
like,
he's
oh,
like,
you're part of the... You're
he's like, wow,
new
this
to the
guy's
DonBrothers.
grown a lot. Because he, like, had seen him a lot of just, like, oh, I want to be just as strong as Taro.
Oh, you're 10 years too early or whatever, something like that. And he's just like, oh, he's
grown
different.
a lot. He's different.
Yeah, he's like, oh, he's...
In a good way.
Yeah. And, like, that's pretty much where, even, like, they open up here. They're like, he's like, yeah, you're normal now. He's like, there's nothing scarier than a normal guy.
Which is true.
Which is funny, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes into him saying...
It's so weird seeing him be normal, by the way.
Yeah, with Jiro saying, hey, I wonder what happens if we were to fight now.
And even, like, Sonoy is just like, hey, I agree with that. We should spar sometime because our fight isn't over.
And then, yeah, so pretty much they were like, hey, yeah, let's fight. Let's see who's stronger. And Taro just says he doesn't care. He's like, I don't
care who's stronger.
Yeah, he's like, yeah. And it's like one of those things where Sonoy, you know, the characters call out this out of character moment and saying, what are you saying? I thought you always strove to be the best. This is weird.
He's like, yeah, I guess that is kind of weird.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's even acknowledging it, and it's just so kind of... It gets me scared. Like, what's
so
happening?
Scared. Like, I feel like they're gonna take
We get it
from us, and I'm so upset.
And
I'm so scared.
we'll talk about it a little later, because we do get certain things after it. But yeah, so I guess let's go to Kajino, and he's going to his office, and he's
resigning.
He's resigning, and his boss was doing what I like to call the old
yeller?
Not even old yeller.
No,
Well, whoa. Yeah, but like that sad, like you have to tell the animal to get out of there. They meant to be in the like the wild or something, so you have to let them be free. And like it's just like him being like, fine, quit then. But he breaks halfway through, and he's like, I'd be too lonely.
Please don't quit, Kajino.
Yeah, and it's like it was kind of cute.
Just being like really fucking confused, and like he hugs him back, and then he's just like, chief or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Which I was not expecting this character to be around.
And it's funny because like it's and everyone clapped moment, but like they look so awkward, and they're just like.
Everyone else is like, what the fuck?
This is weird. And it's really funny. It's kind of like a cute flip on the head of like,
yeah.
It's just so overly dramatic that even the normal people are like, what the fuck is happening?
And then we get, like, after that, Tsubasa pretty much is like, hey, I need to introduce you to Natsumi. And, like, they pretty much then go to, like, a dinner place.
Diner outside, kind of.
Yeah, and he's just like, hey, I need, and he's like, hey, I get it. Like Miho's not real. I understand. Like you don't need to do this. And and it just like it honestly just felt like Tsubasa was like, no, I'm giving this to you to get closure.
Kind of thing.
Like
yeah.
and it's like it's very respectable.
And Kajino is a lot different. It looks like he's learned a lot, and he's just he feels like almost like a recovering
He
addict.
feels like he feels like he's gone through some shit.
Yeah, he's moving. He was gonna. I don't know if he actually kept his job or not, and
Yeah,
he was just gonna be like, I have to figure myself out, kind of thing. And I respect it a lot because it seems like he kind of like pulled his head out of his ass, and he's just like, I need to figure some stuff out before I like continue with anything.
And then the cops show up because obviously Subasa's doing his shit. And he's immediately like going to Natsumi being like, yo, we gotta get out of here. And Natsumi does like the dramatic, like the, no, I
like,
can't
he,
go.
Like, holds his hand out for to like reach out for her so she can take it so they can run away together. And she doesn't take
the
it.
movie trailer, sad, like the head shake, no.
And like everyone is just having like kind of crazy reactions.
Oh yeah,
to it.
Sonone's in the background.
Yeah, of course she's there.
Sonone is then just like after he starts getting captured,
like
starts...
he like legitimately like gets surrounded and they're about to like take him in, and then she just comes in guns ablaze and starts flipping people, and she like uses her arrows to just explode a couple of cop cars.
And yeah, he's just like, you went way too fucking far.
I wonder how Taro would react if he heard about this, because that was the thing that he had with the Bestials was like, your existence is okay, but like if you started to hurt people, that's where you went wrong. Now you are banished here forever. And if you want out, you're gonna have to like talk to me, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And now she's done that, so it almost makes me wonder like,
is something gonna happen?
If that will be a thing. But while he's running off, she actually like kind of asked Kajino if they could like
talk more.
They could talk more, yeah. And he takes her to his place that's like half packed up. And I will say it's kind of nice that he like respectfully, like, the wedding ring that I imagine is like his, and like their wedding pictures he like turns down so she doesn't see them. I kind of respect it because it's in the screenshot, but like he actually covers the ring with like one of the picture frames, and again, but, like you see him growing and getting better.
Yeah, he's just like, I have to just get out of here.
By the way, can I also just say,
this bitch.
I have not been this mad at an episode in a very, very long time, because
only this specific scene.
This specific scene fucking enraged me because I was just so mad. And because she starts to talk and just be like, because we discussed before that, basically the swan was like enacting her dreams and everything, and she was in like a dreamlike state, and we really started to think about this, like we talked about this like as we were watching it or afterwards, and like if you think about like the logic behind how weird she was acting, it kind of makes sense if you think about how you typically act in a dream.
Yeah.
Like after you wake up and you're thinking about it, it's like, oh, like yeah, but it was a dream, so like, you know, you make these weird decisions sometimes or whatever. And I had even mentioned it's like, oh, if like this is like her dream or like her hidden desires or whatever it was before we exactly knew what was going on, which is like, oh, like, you know, once you're in the forest, you're basically dreaming. And the swan said, I'm a story weaver. And we always thought, like, oh, like, Miho was, like, their creation, essentially. Like, oh, they took her body, and they, like, made this story for, like, dramatics and everything.
Yes and no.
I discussed, what if it's a much more literal translation of, she took this story that's going on in her head as she is dreaming and created it. She weaved it, kind of thing. Because, like, she acknowledges the fact of, like, oh, yes, I know that, like, we were married and we lived here.
She's like, I was dreaming the same dream.
I was dreaming the same dream. And all the things that we went through were technically real.
To her as well.
Like, even though it's kind of dream-esque, obviously. Like, it's not fully real, but it's like one of those dreams where you wake up and
and
like,
she does the stupidest thing.
Yeah, and she just, like, she runs up and she, like, hugs him.
And she's crying, I think.
She's crying, and then she, like, runs off.
She says, oh, I'm sorry.
I see almost this look on Kajino's face when she leaves, of just, like, what I was talking about, it feels like a recovered addict, of, like, here comes the relapse, basically, of, like, oh, God, what did you just do, Natsumi? And I'm so mad, because she's turning down Tsubasa, who's fought so hard for her, who's done so much for her, who loves her so much. And Kajino obviously loved Miho, but that's not her, but she's gotten, like, attached in a way, and it's like,
Don't play with this man's heart.
Oh god, like I'm just like I'm wondering if Natsumi is a good person at this point. Like I'm kind of starting to remember her and how I feel about her.
We'll have to see, because I think then
it's just she's playing like this isn't a bestial. This is the Natsumi, the person, and she's starting to play with both of these guys' hearts. And it's like you shouldn't be doing this to either of them. I kind of understand like this is a lot of emotion behind things for her. She's probably
I guess we'll find out next episode.
But,
I think we'll find out next
but like
episode.
I feel like and I understand she's probably trying to figure things out, but this just isn't fair to either of them.
Well, yeah, and I think we'll find out more next episode. There's nothing really to say for this one, because it's like that's all we saw, like, because Natsumi leaves for the rest of the episode, I think.
Yeah, I think that was pretty much that story kind of wrapped.
And then,
because we see Kajino and Tsubasa later, but they don't really acknowledge the fact that this happened.
But, we do see that Haruka and Sonaza are at the fucking DonBrothers working on the manga, whatever. But then Kaido's like, hey, I have something I want you guys to do. And it's like, and I'll make sure that it'll make for a good time. And they're just like, okay, kind of mystery. And then we cut to my king, the legendary fucking fat cowboy ninja farmer.
Mm-hmm. Hanging out with his mom, and he's actually calm, and he's like,
it's over. I'll be okay. I'll raise my mini ponies. And then Sonoshi.
And then these crazy three fuckers come around again.
And start shooting fucking darts at him.
Those like weird darts, and they're like doing
like a chain. Yeah, exactly.
Thing.
Like I got a shitty screenshot, but that's because there was no way I was gonna get like.
There's a lot of movement.
Yeah, there was just too much movement.
And then of course, like he transforms again, and he's actually King Oger this time.
My king.
Cool.
He has his face. It has his face.
The funniest shit happens of they start to regret what they did because they're like, oh god,
they kicks their ass.
We made it too strong, and basically it's really funny. They start kissing the DonBrothers' asses. Like they invite them to the Odin thing. They roll out a literal red carpet for them, and they're like, ha 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 ha.
Eat as much as you want.
And then
Eat Taro. Taro has another instance of saying, he's like, I can't have total strangers pay for my food.
And then they're just like, total strangers? What are you talking about? We know
these are our enemies.
They're our enemies. And he's like, oh yeah, I guess so. But like and they
even Tsubasa is like questioning that.
But they were like, but yeah, why are you doing this? And they're like, do you want to join the DonBrothers? I assume. And they're like, no, we need your help.
And then before they pretty much like, they don't even, like, I don't even think they finish their sentence. They're just like, what? It's nothing. And then he walks up. He's wearing his crown, and he has a scepter.
And he like orders some fish cakes and he flings them into the air, and he gets like this weird like mouth edit where he's like chomp chomp chomp. Yeah. We got a really weird screenshot of it.
Which, by the way, I want to talk about the Taro thing real quick.
Yeah.
Where it's like, because it's really hard to question, and like, I will hold off a little bit because I'm realizing, you know what, I'll get to it later because there's one other piece I need to have my full thoughts on Taro explained, and I feel like I'm jumping the gun a little bit. So let's get to the monster kind of thing.
Okay, yeah. And he does a cool thing where like he like multiplies into.
Well, by the way, we get our first shot of all 9 of them together transforming. I think.
Which is kind of surreal because like I suspected a long time ago that it's like, oh, it feels like they'll probably join forces at one point in some way or another, but seeing them all, including Tsubasa and including Jiro, physically there, all transforming at the same time is kind of wild because it feels like the whole series has built up to that.
Well, you know what's something funny is, like, I can't remember if it's an interview with a writer or a producer or who it was, but supposedly, again, if this comes out as wrong, okay, but like, because I told you about this, apparently Sonoi's character was supposed to die when he died. Yeah. When he died, he wasn't supposed to be revived. But when the writer went to talk about where they were going to take Sonoi's character going forward, and he went to like a dinner with him, the actor charmed the writer so much that he didn't want to kill him. So that's how pretty much it evolved into them becoming part of the DonBrothers, I'm guessing. Like, so he literally just saved him and his 3 friends. Like, the other 2 Naoto were supposed to die as well.
I mean, but technically we saw them. I wonder how Sonoshi, is that his name?
Sonoza.
How he was supposed to die?
I think maybe I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
And it's so funny because we actually have a comparison to this with Revice of, oh, that's kind of what happened with Hiromi.
Yeah, but way earlier on.
Yeah, and it's like sometimes you can kind of tell. But with DonBrothers, I mean, you could probably... I didn't notice until it was pointed out. It's like, oh, I guess they probably took some screen time from Jiro to give to them. Because, again, like, every episode has been packed. There has not really been any fluff.
I would say there's not an episode that I would really say be like, oh, you could see outside of like
You
the
could
one
skip it.
recap episode, like, yeah,
Was
and,
it a recap episode?
yeah, because that was the
Oh,
one when they were like,
right.
who's the MVP?
But even then, it was like, it was still fun to watch.
Yeah, and then we get the 5 of him after, so becomes all the colors of the King Ogres. So we have 5 of them, but then we see 2 new Naoto, who are. I don't know what their deals are. Maybe they're executioners.
So
they're in
these are the
cloaks.
new DonBrothers, or
One
whatever.
specifically Keeksa's actor. Apparently he was watching the show the whole time. And if you don't know who Keeks is, what he's from Fies, and the writer of this one of DonBrothers wrote Fies. And he was just kind of hoping he'd be able to get like a call to join in the show, and he lost hope at one point, and then he finally got to go in. So
I'm happy for him.
so it's like good for him.
And-
Because he'd been loving it apparently, so he's like, I want in.
They do say something kind of important where they say the same thing that Taro has been saying of like, I don't really care.
Not that I really care.
Not that I really care. And they watch as like like Taro almost kind of single-handedly defeats him. That was too powerful for the.
Well, yeah, everyone else is like getting overwhelmed, and Taro, not even in golden form, just literally just lets out one good slash and just ends it, and everyone's like, he still had that much. Yeah, all 5 of them. And he's like, they're like, he still had that much power. Like they were like, what is Taro's limit?
Yeah, even they're like, I'm surprised he had that much energy.
Yeah, and then we cut back to Ninja Fat Man, and he was just like, his mom was like, are you done for real?
For real, and he's like, yes, and he still has a crown. He just like takes it off and he throws it, and I love the screenshot we got because he looks like a toddler just throwing a toy.
With the little pony.
The little pony.
And then we go back to the DonBra.
And what?
Going back to episode 4 and making me want to cry.
And what? What's his name?
Who?
Owner. I can't think of his name.
Kaido.
I knew it was a K, but I couldn't remember his name for some reason. Apparently, they told him it was Taro's birthday, and they threw this cute surprise party. There's a big banner. They have little confetti. Everyone's clapping, and they're happy. He's like, it's not my birthday. That's actually kind of far away right now.
Yeah, and even Sarahara is just like, that's strange for Kaido to make a mistake.
Yeah, because he even was like, I must have got the wrong date. And I'm just like, suspicious. Suspicious.
And Taro...
And they bring out a cake, and they're, like, saying happy birthday, and they just break my fucking heart.
Because, they go back to the scene. It's, like, almost... They start playing the scene with him, with Jin, being by himself with just Jin.
I guess all the kids were busy, but we'll celebrate together. And he's singing happy birthday.
Yeah, and, like, you don't hear the other DonBrothers singing happy birthday.
It's the same delicious strawberry cake that I crave on a daily basis. I want to try so bad. It looks so
And,
good.
like... You can tell, like, Taro looks so genuinely, like he was smiling.
Like, this is what he really wanted. He almost, like, it looks like the actor almost cries for a second.
Yeah, and they all give him gifts. They gave him a pillow with the DonBrothers and Naoto logos, and some chopsticks for Odin.
And he's like, I'll put it to good use. And they're just like, hey, you say, like, oh... you don't really know what happiness is. Do you still feel that way? He's like, you know what? I think I'm starting to learn. And they're like,
he's
is
like,
it
yeah,
being around us? And
wait, before we get to before we get to the gag, I want to talk about this. It's like him understanding happiness a little bit now and everything. And it's like, and I'm wondering if that's a part of like what some of his not caring at the moment is, like, because like that was his whole goal, and like making bonds with all these people. But it's like now he has friends, he has all of this. It's like he's peaked now. It's like anything he wants, he has in a way, because it's such a simple thing to want, you know.
It's like, why would you want more if you're?
Where it's like, it's like you're fine.
It's almost like, oh, you're
at the top.
You're
it's like
at the top kind of thing.
And maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's memory loss. I'm not quite sure.
I don't know exactly where they're going with
exactly.
I'm so worried. I'm so
scared, but it's
Please
like,
don't take our boy.
and it's just one of those things that, it's really interesting to see Taro at this point, and he now somewhat understands it. But like, we're still not sure where he is on dreams and all of that. But like, let's get into the gag then. He was pretty much being like, they're like, oh, is it because of us? And he's like,
no, but then he like has a heart
yeah,
attack.
he's like,
and one of the funniest fucking ending gags I've ever seen happens, because there's like
there's like three gags like going at once.
Because like he falls over and then Kaji brother like
with a smile on his face,
like checks his pulse. He's like, he's dead, hooray! And everyone's like celebrating and shit because they know, but we also realize Tsubasa doesn't know that about
and
him.
Tsubasa's just freaking the fuck out. He's like, he's dead!
What's happening? Get him some help! Like, he's like freaking out, and it's so funny.
It's so funny, because I didn't think about it until we were rewatching it, being like, oh yeah, Tsubasa would have never experienced it. Yeah.
And even Haruka's like, is this a good ending? He's dead. Because they're
Yeah.
just celebrating. He's just like dead.
Yeah, he's just on the
floor.
ground. It's just
Oh,
a corpse.
So and again, we didn't even realize Tsubasa was freaking out until later. It was really
Yeah.
funny.
Like, we're like, why is his face so weirdly extreme? We're like, oh, yes.
But before we move on to Geats. Sorry, I just took a drink of water. That's why I smacked. But, you would actually theorize, was it Kiksa that you were talking about? Like, oh, what if it ends like that, where it just kind of ends on, like, a normal episode? Like, it goes on, and
in
it doesn't
5.
have, like, a
Where it's like, yeah, it's like,
ending.
well, yeah, it's like, and this writer's notorious for ending it somewhat in those ways anyway, where it's like, it just kind of ends on its own terms, like, no
like
grand.
a normal episode.
Yeah, it's like the story will go on for who knows
Was that
how.
Kiksa?
That was Fies, not
Fies, right.
Kiksa.
Well, Kiksa's from Fies, right?
Yes. Which he wrote.
Yeah.
Read your Bible, I wrote it.
Sorry, my chair's squeaking up a storm. But,
Oh.
I would be okay with that, but I would like there to be at least a little bit of, like...
Well, again, I don't know how I'm
stuff.
gonna feel if, like, Taro does just leave or do something like that. Like, I don't know. It's like, that's the thing. I can't... It's ending next week, and I have no idea how.
God. I'm so worried.
I like that the last Hiroyutsuki was the boy. Was the boy. Like, I remember when I first saw him, I was like, this is so dumb.
I think
And then he
by the
kept
time
coming
we saw
back.
him, like, the second or third time, you were just like, he's gonna be the main, like, ending boss, isn't he?
I'm like, he's gonna be the ultimate villain. And in a way, yes. And in another way, no. But either way, this was a great episode. I liked it.
I'm so scared.
Yeah.
But anyway, moving on to Geats. Holy shit, so much stuff happens.
We open up on a pretty cool fight.
Yeah.
With Jean, because we ended on a Jean transforming. And he shoots off Buffus.
Well, here's the thing, like, we have to talk about the fact that, like, Tycoon was, like, talking about how, like...
No, this
they
is the
know-
last episode.
Yeah.
This is last
What was
episode.
that recap where, like, now they know that...
No, you remember I took these screenshots earlier.
Oh, yeah, we actually started watching the wrong episode.
Yeah.
We didn't notice
Yeah.
until, like, a couple minutes in.
So yeah, our screenshots start here.
My bad. But, yeah, like, in the fight, like, Buffett gets his fingers
Yeah.
shot off.
Yeah, because it opens just up on a fight. And
I got so scared for a second, guys, because I was convinced. I was like, oh, God, if they... Because that's his, like, weird...
zombie hand.
Zombie hand, gross hand, like when he's not in suit. And I'm just like, please still have your fingers. Please still have
Don't
your
worry, he
fingers.
gets them back later as well. But like, yeah, Jean uses his gravity powers to pretty much kick the shit out of
Was
Buffa.
that something we saw that he had last episode?
Jean?
Yeah, that he had
No, this
gravity
is his
powers?
first fight. No, this is his first fight.
Yeah, he has gravity powers.
Yeah.
And like he just like either bend himself and walk up walls, which is one here where you can see that he's like on the side of like a storage thing.
A storage container, just literally throws Nudge Sparrow with his gravity powers.
Yeah, he can throw other
Yeah.
people. He can manipulate himself. Like,
Yeah, and
it's really cool.
he was getting ready to shoot Baroba, and he's like, "I'm not fucking letting you ruin this
But
for
then
me."
she like actually teleports away. He like didn't hesitate. He
Yeah,
was
he-
like, "Oh shoot!" and he like shoots her. and
Yeah, she
runs to
puts on
her.
the vision driver and transports to
The goddess of creation.
like this is seriously what happens. And
Ah.
she pretty much has a desire card and is just like, "Hey,
grant my wish.
grant my wish, dragon." And
Dragon.
then Lord Reginald's like, "Fucking dumb bitch, you need a two-step verification."
Yeah, you need both the approval of the game master and the producer because it doesn't happen. Obviously, she's like, "Oh, what's happening?"
Yeah, exactly. It just doesn't work. And so he's just like, yeah, so you can't do this shit.
And it's like, oh, and if you don't have that approval, the goddess won't activate.
Activate.
And they like, and she like jokes in like such a weird way of just being like, oh, like so you've already upped the security, because he even mentions like, oh, there have been other people that have like figured this out and tried to get to the goddess of creation to use her power.
And he's like,
but
I
had them dealt with, and we do get a better shot of what she looks like, and she's like, so like what I kind of want to talk about what we think about the goddess of creation just while we're here.
Yeah, we can do that. But like, by the way, Lord Reginald, like I said, he was like, oh yeah, we've dealt with people like you before and all of this before, and like. Pretty much he's like, okay, are you going to give me back the driver? And she's like, no. And he's like, all right, it's by force. And turns in the gazer. And she's just like, bye. And he's just like, oh, God damn it. And you just see him looming with the goddess of creation. And it's like, it was such a quick scene. It was a very interesting scene.
He does say something, but I don't really remember. It's not like super duper important.
Well, no, it's just, well, I think he was just like, oh, how irritating. And like, or.
Well, actually, would you want to talk more about like with the conversation later? About the goddess?
No, because it's like, I think we could just talk about it now. Or it's like, because it's just...
Because...
Nothing again, was confirmed. It was just questions asked. Nobody said anything.
Because, like, again, like, we... So...
Like...
Well, I just wanted to, like, oh, should we save it for later? Because we finally find out, like, what these people are.
Maybe.
Because, like, I feel like that conversation kind of...
Well,
like,
you were the one who
said,
oh, do we want to talk about the goddess?
Yeah, I was asking.
So, yeah, let's
do it, like, after, like, this conversation when we learn, like, kind of what's going on. And then we'll come back to that.
By the way, I like how they labeled the Game Master losing his driver as losing his authority.
Mm-hmm. And, like, so everything kind of gets canceled.
Yeah, he's like, no disaster voting, no winner, no loser.
Because the game kind of can't continue without the Game Master being a Game Master, basically.
Yeah, they need the driver back. And you can tell Upper Brass is pissed.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't think yeah, you talk too much. I don't think Chermi's gonna be coming back as Game Master. There's something telling me that. I don't know. Just a guess, you know, you lose the keys to the castle. Mm-hmm. You kind of, and your boss is just kind of like, what the fuck?
And yeah, he actually, Lord Reginald himself actually does show up.
Which, by the way, his bow tie has hearts.
Yeah. He is pissed.
Yeah.
He's so mad.
He literally is like, this is outrageous. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, if you guys don't want to do anything, we'll just go home, wipe everything, and, we'll be done. No wishes are granted.
None of yours.
Yeah, none of them.
Like, because like they start asking questions is the thing, and like Geats is like asking all of the questions that we have of like, who exactly are you people? What is the goddess of creation? What exactly is like the relation to like the Jamato and?
Oh yeah, which by the way, the Game Master like came out and just said it.
And sorry, my phone went off. And how do I say this? Like Sorry, I lost my train of thought. My phone going off completely wiped what I was saying. But yeah, he's asking all the questions, and he just kind of turns down. He's just like, no comment.
Yeah, he's just like, I'm not going to answer it. And he's just like, oh, the goddess creation probably is like what gives you the ability to rewrite worlds.
I don't know if we said this yet, but they do learn about the goddess of creation because Chermi started talking about it.
Well, no, he just said that's what they were after, and that's when he gets slapped.
Yeah. She's like, you
gets
talk
the
too much.
Gets the slap,
mustard lady.
Taste. Like right out of his mouth. And then we cut to the forest.
Because that's where obviously like the Buffa and
Nudge Sparrow are. And we pretty much get it revealed that that you were right, that the Jomar Garden was just erased.
An area that got erased because they failed.
Yeah.
And we actually get this really nice shot of Buffa kind of looking over everything. And I only noticed this until like my second watch, where as he's looking at this past play area, he's like, an area the Common Rider failed to protect since they were all wiped out.
I don't think it was him. It was somebody saying it.
I don't know, but either way, it's like, is that not a really fitting place for him to be, where the Riders failed to do their jobs and it got wiped out by the creatures?
Yeah, and you find out that the Gardener's goal is just a world where the Jamato can be happy.
Because he's, spent so long, like, cultivating them and raising them.
We'll get back to that. And that's pretty much where that ends, and, like, Baroba's just like, oh, do you want to know the truth? And,
about
like,
what we are. And she actually does tell them. We don't see yet, but we do learn this episode.
Yeah, exactly. And all of a sudden, we go back to Ace, and he's like, who exactly are you people? And then we cut back to...
Each of them meet their like top sponsors.
Well, then we go back to the garden immediately after they get told, And
So it's
like
the reactions.
and everyone's looking, and Nudge Sparrow is looking weirdly at the gardener, which this is a very low theory. This is like, I'm not even gonna say it. There's the only matching thread for this theory you will know in like 3 seconds. But like, I'm wondering. You know what? We'll come back to this.
No, it's fine. You can just say it. Oh wait, yeah, you don't want to.
Yeah.
But
We'll go
anyway,
back.
so
We'll wait.
They go and they meet with each of their sponsors, and they each get a gift. So Tycoon goes to Frogman, and,
Yeah.
and he's just like, he really gets a pep talk from him, just like,
Oh, what are you gonna do? He's like, are you gonna go? And he's like, yeah.
he's like, you really are a true Kamen Rider. And if you think about like his morals and why he does things, I do feel like he is like a true Kamen Rider rather than like a contestant.
Which, by the way, we will come back to this frog statue. I have something to say later.
Sure. And he gets boost.
Yeah, he gets boost. Which I guess, does he own it? Does
And Neon actually gets to go into her sponsors area, and it's just filled with like. These
Which, by the way,
flowers and a
we
vase.
know who her sponsor is.
You know, it's the dude who took her mirror.
It's
not,
asshole.
They don't show it. It was in the preview, but they do show. They don't show it.
He gets a
leaves
letter.
and it's basically almost like a love letter of like, I know that.
Not
you
even
need
a
to
love
satisfy.
letter, where it's just like,
It
hey.
feels like it. It feels creepy.
No.
Of just like,
Oh, you will find love someday.
I really want you to be happy. I want you to get your wish and find love someday. And even if like you are the bad guy, I will still always be your supporter, kind of thing. And then she got
she got the fever slot.
Fever slot. And as Geats is going straight into the forest, he's no hesitation. Gene,
Yeah.
Gene is there. And he's like, "Oh, did you bring me a present?" And he's like, "Yeah,
it's me.
It's me."
And we get this wicked fight.
And I also, when they transform together, I noticed that Jeans is actually kind of like a mirror of Geats. Like, he was like waiting for this. Like, I can transform next to him.
Oh yeah, you can tell he was excited. And they just start fighting and taking out a bunch of Jamato and everything.
He's flying around
awesome.
the forest using his gravity thing. It's really cool.
He's zipping around.
He has a thing called support mode, which I thought was very funny.
Which he gives. Oh, I don't think I have a screenshot because it lasts all of 3 seconds and there really wasn't any good shot of it. But like, he Aladdin magic carpets on like a card, like Geats does.
Yeah, they fight together basically flawlessly. It's really cool.
It was really cool. It's like the red and blue really do.
And we get this really cool shot where like he like gets on a tree and Geats is on the ground and they're like covering each other's backs.
Yeah, and they're just explosions.
Just one after another, and it's really cool.
Yeah, we even had like Geats like shot rocks to make all this dust in the air, and it was really cool. Like, oh, it was such a stylish fight.
Oh yeah.
And then pretty much Gene's just like, "Hey, your rival just showed up," and Geats is like, "What?"
No,
and
you're a nemesis.
Oh yeah, wait, did he say nemesis?
I don't remember actually. He might. I don't think he said rival. But...
Well, either way, he says, and Buff is just like there, and he's like, "Fuck you guys! None of your wishes are coming true now."
No more wishes are coming true.
Yeah.
And he goes on a little bit of a tangent, and Geats even asks, like, "Is this your revenge?" Because like he doesn't want any more riders making any more wishes, essentially. But like as he's talking about like how he wants to wipe out the riders, and Geats asks, like, "Is that your revenge?" He's like, "No, it's my wish," which I think is like really showing even more of the hypocrisy about him, because like he doesn't want any Kamen Riders around, yet he still uses a belt. He doesn't want anyone making.
He still
does
the transformation pose.
Yeah, he's doing everything he can to grant his wish.
Exactly.
It's a lot of hypocrisy. And we also found this like one cool shot because there's an artist that we saw that made a really cool fan art where he had like his like broken Jamato eye.
Yeah, even zombie form.
It was like glowing green, and we actually noticed when he transforms in here using the Jamato and zombie, his eye glows green.
Yeah, so he has the one orange zombie eye in the.
Do you remember who made that piece of art?
I sadly don't, and I'm about to say I'm not going to use it. It was a really cool piece of art, and it was just of Jamato Buffa, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
I just wanted to give him credit if he remembered.
Yeah. But
yeah, there's
yeah, then we go to Neon and he like Tycoon is using boost and all of that. She gets double V-neck guitars. And then you pretty much see Nudge Sparrow walk out and he
I mean, there was a small conversation between her and Tycoon of just like, I have people supporting me, so I feel okay, or whatever it was, but it's not super important. And you went too far. And Yeah, and then Nudge Sparrow shows up, and they're like, "How are you here?" And he laughs, and we actually get a pretty cool shot.
Yeah,
He's like, "I'm your enemy."
because I'm your enemy. But also, wait, I'm realizing there was something. I guess we didn't get a screenshot of it, so we really didn't mention it. But there was a moment between the Game Master and Sarumi, and where she's just like, "How did he get the Nudge Sparrow ID cord?" And he's like, and Shirumi's like, "I didn't do it."
Mad.
Yeah, and she's just
"Why
like,
did you do all of this?" And he's like, "For the drama."
yeah, he's like, "I needed." He's like, "I wanted the show to be exciting," which obviously is why this mess happens. And then we pretty much hear like then Baroba pretty much walks up.
Oh yeah, we go back to Geats and Buffa
And
and Jean, and Baroba, Draculaura.
Yeah, and he's like, we're supposed to be nothing more than onlookers and everything. And then Baroba just says, the whole world's dead and long gone anyway.
And everything suddenly clicks for Geats.
Yeah, Geats
She's
just
like,
stops.
What she said, the fact that they said that they're basically dimensional tourists, the goddess of creation, it all clicks in his head, and he's just like, and he puts it together, and we figure out.
But before he does that, Buffa chainsaws his stomach.
Yeah, he got distracted.
Exactly. He's like, what? And then like it's just, and then he untransforms and just says, I know what you guys are. You're from the far future. And like, it's just like the what, and Jean's just like, yeah. He's like, this is a 3.5 dimensional world. I'm like, what does that mean?
And essentially, I don't know if like it gets explained more directly later, but essentially, yeah, it's just like, these people will like go to a planet that's like desolate, and then they'll like go to like it's this planet's past.
Yeah, they'll even say they're like, oh, it's like how people bring in like the Sengoku and like the Renaissance period and all of that, and recreate
they'll just take
it.
People from different times and like pitch them into gladiator battles, essentially. Like I think of it as like, oh, if we could travel through time, if we went to like ancient Greece and like
goes with the rule,
grabbed some of those warriors and then put them in like futuristic death game, what would happen? It's entertainment.
Which, by the way, I want to then bring up the rule real quick that we got this episode, which is like the Desire Grand Prix exists for the entertainment of the visitors from the future. It's a reality rider show that spans various historical periods. So that means it's like, this is not their first world. We even get Sarumi saying, I wish I could have watched this world a little bit longer. And
yep, and like Sarumi is like really uncomfortable throughout that. Like there's like a time when Geats was asking all these questions, it focused on her instead of him, and then it panned over to him.
Yeah.
Where it's like she's much more involved in this. She obviously knew the truth, but like she couldn't say anything.
Yeah,
and just like and then, I wonder like how involved the game navigator truly is, because it seems like she has more authority than we really give her credit for.
Yeah, exactly. And then we also have Lord Reginald saying, hey, this is probably going to be our last series here. We're going to have to give it the final judgment. They're pretty much being like, last thing,
this is in the middle
clean
of
this
the
a wipe.
Series, by the way.
Yeah, they're like, we're going to have to do a clean wipe. Something like that.
Yeah,
and I guess we only have one thing left. So we get to see Baroba transform into her giant mechanized bull form.
She is massive. She's massive.
And just nukes the Gemar Garden.
She carpet bombs the place, essentially. Like, she flies up into the air.
As the fucking gardener is begging, like, no!
Please, I worked so hard. And we even see, like, the riders, like, it's completely silent.
Yeah, we just
see into white.
We see a nuke.
Basically.
And it's just her standing in flames.
And laughing.
Yeah, and that's it.
And she even says, like, this place is our playground. Like,
yeah,
this is what it's for.
Yeah, she's like, oh, rebuild.
It could all be reset and rebuilt. It doesn't matter. It's our playground. And you even see the riders basically, like, I imagine, just vaporize, essentially. But, like, Jean has, like, a shield.
Yeah, he just, like, you saw him block whatever.
I mean, obviously, we see these characters in the preview for the next episode, so something happens, but we don't.
Could you imagine if they died there?
Oh, my God. Like, I don't know what's going to be happening next episode, but, like, that's how it ends. That's how this episode ends. Now that we know all that information, let's talk about the goddess of creation, because this is such an interesting topic.
Well, it's like, because there's so many different theories. It's like, oh, is that Geats' mom? And like, but like the only thing that like bothers me about that theory, where it's like, then why would they state her as a previous game navigator? But then it made me wonder, where it's like, what if the goddess of creation, because it would have been early on in the Grand Prix and whatever, like, they were like, well, you can stay out and about just as long as you create wishes. But to keep her unbiased the longer it went on, they were like, maybe we should just seal her up. Like, they steel her into stone. And so, like like when both drivers activate her, where like because they said activate, where it's like that unsheathes her from the stone and like she's just like a person,
or even just like that like orb she's holding. Because I'm still convinced that that's like a representation for the world.
I think
that
so
she's
too.
Holding for them. And I'm still for it's like Geats' mom theory, because I feel like it, like even a point that you brought up, I feel also kind of helps reinforce it, where we do see a brief glimpse in the preview of like Geats with like a filter showing like it's the past and like he has a different haircut.
Well, he's definitely a time traveler too.
Yeah, because I feel like one of the things of like, oh, the reason why so much of this is different is because he's the gods of creation's son, but also because
that's also why it's impossible.
They're from the far future, but what if Geats is from the far past? Because obviously he says he's been doing this for 2,000 years.
Yeah, he says he's like 81.
And I feel like maybe my theory at the moment, because we do physically see her as a person, and I'm realizing we haven't seen his coin in a long time.
Oh yeah, he hasn't pulled that out in a little bit.
But she is like walking away. My theory is like she saw where this was going, and she was starting to grant wishes that she didn't agree with, or creating worlds that she didn't like, something like that. And she knew exactly what was going to happen to her. Maybe that wasn't originally the game navigator's thing. Like she was the goddess of creation. She navigated the games, and she would be the one to like grant their wish. But they're like, oh, you're getting too biased. You're starting to have opinions, so we're going to encase you. And then we're just going to get a game navigator separately to go and just do that part.
It's hard to say, yeah.
And my theory is like, oh, she saw exactly what was going to happen, so she created Geats. Like, she created him, Ace, and she's just like, I'm going to give, like, you know, maybe, like, he was her wish kind of thing of just, like, you're going to be the one that's going to be able to fix all of this.
Or free me.
Or free me. And then that's the reason why, like, when he wished to be able to see his mom again, it got denied because you, like they said, there is a rule of you have to have the game master and the game
they don't want to lose their god.
Yeah, to be able to even see it. And obviously, like he didn't even know that it was a reality show at that point, so he wouldn't even know that would be a factor to take in.
Exactly.
And so I feel like it kind of fits in, like, he's her out, basically. Like, oh, and his whole thing is, like, I want to figure out why I was created, was the words that he used when he was trying to look for
he's like, why was I born? Why am I on this world?
And I feel like the reason that she might be able to give is, like, because I wanted you to come and free me, or I wanted you to be able to, like, help.
Again, this is all a theory.
It's like, because obviously this world ends up desolate at one point, and I feel like it's not because, like, oh, yeah, the planet's, you know, over millions and millions of years, it turned to fireballs and ice balls, you know, they go back and forth constantly. I feel like it's more than that, like, oh, this planet gets destroyed or something at one point. Maybe because of the Jamato. Maybe that's a creation of their own. We don't really know.
Or maybe just the sun gives out and it's just gone.
Yeah, I'm saying not that. That's what I'm trying to say is, like, oh, like,
you think it was a
I'm
cause
trying to say, like,
problem.
oh, it's not like a cosmic problem. It's more of like a humans fucked up kind of
thing. We like launched too many nukes, kind of.
Something like that, or like we just fucked up or something.
Well, yeah.
That's kind of like where my mind is at the moment.
Well, I'm about to say, and like this is all we know.
So what are your thoughts? You said that you didn't quite, not necessarily like agree, but like you did.
Well, it's just a hard thing to say with Geats' like mom, because again, it's like we don't have enough pieces, and again, it's. You know what this definitely squashes, though? Like, this is not a simulation. They just have, like, a being who can recreate these worlds however they whim. So it's like, I guess that's why. It's like, they definitely have scientific travel and everything, but they're time travelers in altering dimensions. So this is definitely not a simulation kind of thing.
Do you remember when I said, like, oh, what if, like, the desert world that, you know, we see Geats in? It's like, oh, you know, what if that was like a previous player, or that's like what the rest of the world looks
well, no, I remember I was guessing if that was a spaceship or something, like where their game is at, and you see all the cameras and everything, like because we saw them launch out.
What if that's the planet that gets left after it's destroyed, that they reversed in order to play the games?
I'm not sure. But that is a good question. Well, it sounds like they leave this world.
You were saying, tell your thing about the spaceship thing.
But, like, yeah, it's like, because it's like, well, because they said they were like, oh, we have to leave and everything. So it's like, well, what are you guys leaving? Are you guys in something? Where it's like, oh, what if, like, it's almost like a time-traveling giant, like, spaceship kind of thing? Because we see Geats launch off of it, and, like, it's this kind of hologram to look like that desert that we see, like, the platform on.
Or even, like,
And so it's like,
when
but
they go in, like, they have, like, the room that we've been seeing forever. It's like,
yeah,
like, why not just be able to, like, make it look and function like a room when it needs to be? Because it's just such future technology.
yeah, exactly. Because it's like, we don't know how far in the future they are. It's like, it could be billions of
They say the far
years.
future, so it's like, I imagine it's like... And there are possibly also aliens, if you think about
And
it.
or have mutant powers.
Or, like, multi-dimensional kind of people.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Wait, they're tall men?
Huh?
Phantasm intensifies.
Oh. Guys, he's old.
We're gonna find out.
He's really, really old.
Oh my god, wait, that's Geats! Wait, guys, I found out something about Ace. He's a really old.
And he doesn't
like, really old.
And he doesn't skip leg day.
Dem legs, though.
Oh God, is there anything else like you really want to talk about? I feel like we've already talked a lot, but there's just so much. Guys,
Jean's fighting style was amazing. Like, I gotta give it that. Like, I think that was a really good highlight. The Buffa fight was spectacular.
I'm realizing the more I look at Jean's suit, the more I like it. I just think it looks a lot better at certain angles than dead on how we saw it. Because, like, I feel like the asymmetric angles that they have with this works to its favor when it's, like, to the side or, like, at an angle kind of thing. I've been warming up to it.
I still like it. Either way. Also, we got, I'm wondering if we're gonna get, like, premium Bandai, Tycoon, and Nago boxes. Because we're getting a Geats one. So, and the Nago one's really easy because I think it's just another yellow box, and you just have to put her logo in it.
To be fair, I think it's, like, a slightly different kind of yellow. But, like, yeah. It's basically just the same thing, but different colors and a logo slapped on it, so why not?
Alright, so
it's extra money.
Yeah, we already mentioned the preview, and there's something I have to mention. We see, Tycoon's sponsor, Kikorn or something? The frog! We see his human form.
So he's not actually a frog, sadly.
Well, yeah, but here's the funniest part. He's wearing the exact same outfit as the frog statue, and it makes me wonder one of two things. One, I bet you the actor refused to put colored, like, have a green streak in his hair, because I did not see one. If he has one, good for him. Because if you notice, all the other card riders had a streak in their hair. But I love that it's like even the necklace is there. So it's like, so did they find this frog statue and decide that, hey, dude, you're going to dress like this frog statue? Or they're like, okay, we made this character and this is what we want him to wear. And like the actor couldn't come in and like he's like, hey, I could do voiceover real quick, but I'm not going to be free for a couple of weeks. And they're like, oh, okay, we'll use this frog statue and say you're from like a speaker or something. Like, I want to know why the frog statue.
And we do see the guy that we saw earlier with the same, like, gun that, is Jean and Baroba. Like,
they all have one, yeah.
The gun, what are they called again?
Laser Raise Risers.
No, I mean, like, the riders. Like, what are they called? The gun riders, or?
No, I just called them the gun riders. They're just, they're...
No, I didn't know if
they're the supporter rider. Or the supporter riders, I guess. I don't know.
I guess it's basically, like, oh, like, that's kind of, like, the gimmick of these. It's, like, each of the writer's biggest fans, essentially.
I guess, yeah. So,
and again, we see him, like, with it, that we saw the guy who stole the mirror. So.
Yeah, so Kyun and him are gonna probably transform next episode.
Kyun is the weird guy's name. Mirror guy.
Yes. Asshole.
Asshole. I don't know, like, I feel like, if anything, he was trying to warn her. I'm getting more creepy vibes. Oh, okay. Really, really obscure reference that I felt. So, in the room where... Nago is supposed to go and see her sponsor that's filled with the golden flowers or whatever. I was like, why do these look familiar? And maybe it's because I recently rewatched it. For those who get this reference, they reminded me a lot of, like, the golden flowers that were in the Barbie movie from the 12 Dancing Princesses of, when they open up and, like, produce sparkles to make a wish. It's really... I don't expect anyone to, like, really get it, but, like, it reminded me of that.
They're not going to be granting wishes. She got a box. Mm-hmm. But, yeah. So, I don't know. I'd say, like, until DonBrothers is over, we're really not... nobody wins because both shows are too good.
Yeah. It's going to feel really sad when DonBrothers is just over.
That's next week?
I'm not ready, man. I'm not ready to lose the boy.
But yeah, no, this was a good episode. Okay, do you have a favorite moment from amongst the episodes? Do you have a...
I mean, I love the little birthday party and Taro being happy and, like, the whole ending gag. That was really great. But I also really love the ending with, like, Baroba just laughing as she's just covered in flames at this desolated already desolate place, like just or
Um,
decimated a desolate place. You know?
Gene fighting in the forest is definitely a
I got
highlight.
actually creeped out. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that was a great highlight though. My
Uh,
highlight reel. Here comes my
oh,
highlight.
oh. But yeah, no,
But
that
yeah, it's so funny. Like, speaking of DonBrothers, like this episode did something kind of like crazy. Of like, I got on the second watch, I remembered what happened. I was so incredibly pissed. I almost walked away and like I don't want to watch the rest of this episode. But once it was over, and like the other stuff happened, it got so good again. I completely forgot that I was angry. Which is why I got so violently angry the second watch around, because I was like, oh right, I forgot this happened. Those assholes, like, what are they doing? Like,
yeah, it's like you just got so unjustifiably angry.
am I unjustifiably angry? Am I?
Well, we don't know yet, so we'll see. So, I guess that's it. Until next week.
Definitely let us know what some of your guys' theories are.
Yeah, what are your guys' theories?
This was a lot of good plot stuff. So, I guess let us know like what you think about both Geats and DonBrothers ending.
Put it down in the comments.
Well, I'm interested to see if there's any other theories that you guys have.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening.
And until whatever we do next, thank you guys so much. So, bye.
Bye-bye.